the idea for Smartify came to myself and my co-founder at the same time, but we hadn't met yet. We were in completely separate ways that we had the idea. So for me, I work in the sector, in the museum sector, so I was working in education in museums, and I realized that the visitor experience we were offering was really poor, basically. Everybody has to look at the same top 10 artworks. There's no personalization of the experience. The wall labels are kind of, quite hard to read for some people because they are, you have to kind of push through crowds, or you have to stand there reading it rather than taking it away with you, taking all the information afterwards and reading it afterwards. And at the same time, I knew, as working in museums, that museums don't have a lot of data on their audiences. They don't know what things people are engaging with or their interests. So all of the things that we see in terms of Netflix and Amazon and Spotify being able to recommend things to us based on data, that doesn't exist in the museum sector. So I was kind of saying all of this and talking to friends and saying, how this is my idea, but I just work in museums, so it's just an idea. And then at the same time, my co-founder, he was at business school, and he had a professor who was a mutual friend of both of us, and he started basically working on the same idea. He basically loved going to museums. He also used the app Shazam a lot, and he was like, why can I not just do this with art? It's such an easy app to use, Shazam. It's such a clear concept. And he wanted to create something like that. So he was doing an MBA and basically wanted to kind of create a company idea around this. And we were introduced. So I bring the kind of the understanding of the sector and those networks, and he brings all of his experience in mobile development. And so that's how we started the company. I think there are lots of belief systems that can impact progress in terms of making innovation happen. In terms of individuals who maybe have an idea, one of the things that people think is that, right, I can't share my idea with anyone, it's my secret idea, and one day I'll work on it. But that's, I think, a really stupid approach. No one's really going to steal your idea. Everyone's so busy, and actually the idea is kind of worthless. The actual execution is the hard part. So not sharing ideas, I think, is a problem. And obviously, as I mentioned with kind of founding Smartify, that only came through having conversations and sharing ideas where you network and you meet people who have similar ideas, and then you can form teams. So if people kind of just have an idea and they think, right, how can I get a co-founder now, but I can't tell anyone about it, that's a problem. So I think sharing ideas. Also in terms of marketing and sales, I think, again, really, if you have a good idea, you think, right, people are just going to come to me and just use my service. But obviously that's not true at all, because everybody's busy, everybody's got loads of other things going on. And even if you're like, well, my product is, objectively better than all the other products on the market, so what? People are busy, and cognitive overload and kind of attention and like tiredness is the biggest kind of problem stopping people engaging with new things. So if you actually want people to kind of embrace your technology, so we were going to museums and saying, look at this, look what we've done, you really have to hit them over the head with it. You really have to kind of keep on going and have that persistence. So sharing ideas, constantly, and being very open with them, I think is important. And then in terms of kind of organizations, large corporates or large institutions like museums, I think that there's not currently enough funding for R&D and ability to make mistakes. Thinking about my sector particularly, museums are, as I mentioned, they can be quite conservative, and their brands mean a lot to a museum. That kind of branded, the kind of national galleries of the world. They have this really strong brand, and so it's hard for them to put an experience out there that isn't, that has feedback that's negative and positive, that, to iterate on that and then make mistakes and grow. And that kind of idea of having to put out a finished product all the time that's perfect, I think stops innovation. Because if you look at young content creators today, people on YouTube, or like a musician, if I'm a musician, I put something on YouTube and I know instantly what people think about it because they're going to tell me what they think about it in the comment section, and then you can grow and continue your craft. Whereas if, you know, a museum puts something up, an exhibition, and they just get like a review in the newspaper and they just say, great, we've got a review, fine, let's move on. That's not actually helping you to grow and develop what you're offering. And it's the same for large organisations as well. So yeah. The overall goal with Smartify is to be that single global platform for discovery and sharing of art, on the same level as kind of Spotify. You know, you can see from the names that we aspire, Spotify, Smartify, so we're really looking to that company in terms of what they've achieved. But for us, it's important to do it within the kind of the sector and kind of in support with the sector. So for us, it's about helping them access new data and analysis and delivering products and services that actually improve a museum experience. I think a lot of startups have come along and followed that Facebook model of, you know, move fast and break things. And actually now, kind of in 2020, we're looking back and we're thinking, actually, that wasn't such a good idea, you know, that kind of broke journalism, which perhaps wasn't that helpful. And in the same way, we don't want to disrupt healthcare or disrupt education, and we don't want to disrupt cultural institutions. We're not trying to, you know, cause disruption there in that sense. We want to take them on the journey of transformation and support them in becoming modern institutions that can serve their visitors and essentially get more people engaged with art.